The third Doctor and Joe face the Cybermen in the Quintessence. But this isn't the first time the third Doctor and Joe on Big Finish have dealt with the Metal Giants, because in the Third Doctor Adventures Volume 4, they faced them in the Tyrant of Logic. But we're not only just covering the Tyrant of Logic, we thought, hey, let's do the whole box set, because the first story, Rise of the New Humans, does tie into the Quintessence as well, as Luke will give you the little reference there for it too.
Yeah, it's funny because when we chose this one as our throwback for the Quintessence, it was more just because Third Doctor, Cybermen, Joe, it seemed the obvious one. But then actually, the Rise of the New Humans has a bit of a haunted house vibe going on, same as Quintessence. So, there's
It all
some
works.
serendipity there.
And this box set, it's very much the Third Doctor Adventures have arrived now. We've made it. I think they're finally catering for fans in terms of giving us a full cast Third Doctor Cyberman story. We had little glimpses of it, Carnival of Monsters, Five Doctors, the Bluetooth, but now we're getting a full-on adventure with the Third Doctor and the Cybermen.
Yeah, I think as soon as it was announced that Tim Treloar would be taking on this role, the question on everyone's mind was, when's he going to get to face the Cybermen?
Yeah,
Because it's surely an opportunity Big Finish couldn't pass up. But I'm glad they waited for, the range to properly find its feet
I think Tim's
before
found his
attempting
feet
this challenge. Yeah.
within this. I think this is a set where Tim's settled. He's very much in the part, and I think this box set allows him to do something very different with the Third Doctor. And I think, yeah, you can tell there's a lot more confidence in what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely. It also feels like this is the end of the first chapter of the Third Doctor Adventures in a way. It's the
Yes.
end of the side-by era. It's also the end of Tim being the only recast in the range because come Volume 5, you've got John Coleshaw as the Brigadier and Daisy Ashford as Liz Shaw. And so suddenly the doors were opening to the whole of the Third Doctor's era. So this feels like a curious one looking back on as, that last little remnant of what the Third Doctor Adventures once were when they were sort of sidestepping the presence of the Brigadier as you
Yeah,
have in
this story.
Rise of the New Humans, because it's kind of a unit story, but not really. Like
Yeah.
they're there, but in the same way that they're there in some new series stories or some of the, something like Android Invasion or even there, they have more of a presence.
Hmm.
Here, this is much more in line with something like the Sea Devils, really, where it's the Third Doctor and Joe going off and investigating something without a TARDIS, but nevertheless by themselves. They don't have the Brigadier or Captain Yates and Sergeant Benton coming along to back them up. Instead, you have a couple of original unit characters towards the end, or not even a couple, just one really is. Oh no, a couple. You got a Corporal Bell standing as well. Anyway, the story itself, The Rise of the New Humans, is about the monk. Here he
Yeah.
is, played by Rufus Hound. This is pretty early in his tenure as the character, really. He is, once again, the Third Doctor and Joe are investigating a series of unusual deaths/suicides that are linked to former patients of a clinic set out in the middle of nowhere. But these aren't the usual kind of deaths because, it's Doctor Who, units
There's going to be a twist
investigating.
somewhere
Yeah, there's a twist somewhere. Basically, these dead bodies, before they died, it seems that they were evolving
to
somewhat to,
overcome
yeah, the
that sort of death,
injuries that were forthcoming.
which I think gives the story this great grit from early Pertwee, like season 7, season 8. I think there's this,
Yeah. It opens with them visiting a morgue.
yeah, there's a bite there to it, which
Hmm.
is great because you've got that grit alongside the sort of season 10 Third Doctor and Joe dynamic, which is the best dynamic you want for those characters because they're so there and present with each other.
Yeah, the story is written by Guy Adams, and I think he really gets both these characters.
Just the scenes in them just driving Bessie to the institute. That's John and Katie.
Yeah, it really is. And there's some magical stuff there with those two. I also love the misdirection with the monk. I mean, I think it's
It's been
fair to
out
talk
long
about
enough,
because
yeah.
it's also not exactly a spoiler because he's there on the cover.
Yes.
Like you have him watching the monitors early on in part one, but you don't hear him say anything. Instead, you just have the lighting up of a cigar and such. And even the doctor's thinking, oh, the master's got to be behind this because, for some reason, that's always the
It's always there.
conclusion that's jumped to.
That annoyed me when I first listened to this because this is like edgy teen Ben, and I was like, I really wanted it to be the master because, like, yeah, it makes sense, but it makes the plan for the monk has within this makes total sense, and I think it's a story exploring sort of eugenics, um, and I think it fits the Third Doctor era very well. I think it has that strong moral compass what Barry Letts and Terrence had within the show with
Yeah,
sort of
that's
the
definitely
commentary.
there. I mean, you sort of see similar things with the mutants as well, don't you?
Yes.
And that deals with evolution and such, and using that as an allegory. But yeah, here it's sort of asking the question of how far should science go? And sometimes death needs to happen, things need to have an ending, which is very RTD as well.
Hmm.
So I think it's exploring some interesting themes. I did have much more fun with this than I was expecting. I think first time around it was very much the let's get this out of the way so we can get on to the Cyberman four-parter.
Yeah.
But actually, it does have a fair bit going for it.
I think the
That
first
I,
three episodes are
Mm.
really, really strong. And I think episode four, it really crumbles a bit with,
yeah,
I think, is it Reggie? Like
I
the
think,
main,
yeah, I know the guy you mean.
yeah, like
I quite liked his character,
I liked him.
but
It kind of fits what they would be doing in season 10 because you can imagine like the
even
spiral.
season 8, it's very much like Barnum.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking in terms of like the practical effect of like the spiral.
Oh,
Like you can
yeah, yeah.
imagine like the ropey CSO trying to convey this invisible man.
Mm.
So it feels very of that time. But I just didn't really buy him.
But yeah, I don't. It did just feel like it faltered quite a bit in that fourth
Mm,
part. Like, I
yes.
think the way it all wraps up, yeah, it didn't quite do it for me, which was a shame because I was enjoying it up until that point. I
Yeah,
think there was still some enjoyment to be had.
I was really enjoying Rufus Hound's Monk, and I've had quite a relationship with him. I've had ups and downs, and I I think this is the most I've enjoyed this story. Um,
Yeah, I could definitely attest to that.
should we move on to the main meat, Tyrant of Logic? And it is the main meat because it's a chunky one.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, part four is 40 minutes, which, yeah.
It's like a big finish
This,
six-parter at this point.
yeah, it could easily have been edited into a six-parter, really, and you wouldn't have thought, oh, they're short-changing us with that.
No, no.
Like yeah, it's got a lot going for it. Set on a planet called Burnt Salt, which is such a wonderful name.
Mm.
I think, yeah, it really sets the scene for this planet that's past its prime. It's this abandoned mining colony. You've got a spaceport there where there's this little diner with this wonderful group of characters. You can really picture it. There's the hum of electricity. And so you can sort of imagine that more yellowy lighting.
Mm.
Yeah, it really does paint a
And the
bleak,
harsh
but
atmosphere
also,
of like the snow
yeah,
and
it's a
like the
bleak but also
winds.
beautiful picture that it paints.
Yeah, it really, really is. I think this story's got a lot of pressure because it's written by Mark Platt, who wrote Spare Parts and wrote Silver Turk, two highly regarded Big Finish Sideman stories. So, is this going to be a hat trick for him with this one?
Yeah, I think that was the question on everyone's minds back in 2017 when 2018, sorry,
Hmm.
when this one first came out. And I think it's fair to say that he succeeded.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this one does have a good reputation going for it. I don't know what it's quite seen on the same level as Spare Parts, but it's
No.
certainly not a letdown to that legacy either.
I
And
th-
it's doing a lot of its own things, which
it
I.
adds new stuff to the cyber mythos, like the cyber smoke, which
Mm,
is a big part of the story. But the big thing it introduces is the cyber leveler, which is
yeah,
this.
big in more ways than one.
Yeah, it's this egg with legs, and it's got cyber mats going all around it, and it's supposedly meant to be like a portable, advanced cyber planner.
Hmm.
There's no real clear visual on it, so it's very much left to your imagination. What it
Yeah,
looks
make
like.
of that description what you will, whether you think it's something ridiculous or intimidating. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the vision there was, but I like the concept
Yeah, it's a really good
nevertheless.
concept.
You know, it sounds intimidating. The voice that Nick Briggs does is very good for
Hmm.
it. You get your typical invasion grunts for the rest of the voices,
With the
which
revenge
is well.
headgun sounds,
Hmm.
which was
Yeah,
an exciting prospect because I don't think Big Finish had used it before that sound effect.
yeah, that's true. But presumably it's on the handheld gun, which I think works. It's still that nice little reference about it having to be the
Hmm.
head gun.
I mean,
It was
what I
never
like
consistent.
about this is the Cybermen aren't really present within the story, but the way they're
Their
built up,
impact on the characters is.
yes, because you've got this sort of cyber hunter, and you've got the sort of supporting characters who've got a history with the Cybermen, that they know about the Great Cyber War, and the
Hmm.
Cybermen are very much in that sort of so they're not trying to be wasteful with resources, and it's a very interesting way to play with the Cybermen. I feel with this.
Yeah, agreed. I love the supporting characters within this as well. I think
Hmm.
how three-dimensional and well thought out they are really is the true strength of this story. And I think
Yes.
a lot of it does hang on how hard they hit as characters, how much they mean to you. And I mean, Chad Caramel,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
what a brilliant character he is. He's this one man band who's got like these augmentations. So he's literally got the instruments within him. And
Hmm.
so he's like halfway to becoming a musical Cyberman, perhaps in a way. Uh, yeah, he's just there's the wonderful visuals of him wearing the shades and the hat, and he's pretty much has a whole conversation with Joe where he never speaks a word. He's just playing different bits of music and changing the tune in response to what she's saying,
Yeah.
which is wonderfully written. Says so much about both their characters. There's stuff like that that you'd think shouldn't work on audio, but you get so much physicality, I suppose, from that character within the voice, within what we know about that kind of musician. You know, he's larger than life. And yeah, I think he has a relatively small part to play in this story when you look at how much he says, how long he's in it for. They make such an impact. And also
Yeah.
Skipper as well.
Yeah. These
How
little
wonderful.
lemur things.
Hmm. Augmented creatures, the ghosts of burnt soul. Yeah, Skipper is their leader, and yeah, she's a very endearing character. And
Hmm.
then you mentioned the cyber hunter earlier, Hollis and Greer. Yeah, this very gruff character who's clearly seen some things. Yeah, they're all just such amazing characters in this. Marion Schaefer as well, played by Carolyn Pickles. And then you've got Gusta. You know, you've got some quite morally grey characters
Hmm.
there. But at the same time, you sympathize with them and
They all have
understand
their
them.
reasonings for what they're doing, their motives.
Yeah, it's all very well thought out by Mark Platt. And ultimately, I think when you have those like, emotional characters clashing against each other, it's quite nicely contrasts with the Cybermen and their cold, emotionless onslaught.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To get the level of that.
It's a very strong story. And again, the Doctor and Joe are at the heart of it because the Doctor is going through something here.
So
And I think Joe, by having to watch the Doctor go through that, is going through something in herself.
you have the wonderful sort of, I guess for Damon's Joe in the form of like her belief in the Doctor.
Hmm.
I think that comes really strongly in this story.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested to see how much of this does get referenced in the quintessence, if at all. I mean, I
Mm.
imagine there'll be a little reference. We
I hope
had a
there
reference
is.
to Burnt Soul in the Scourge of the Cybermen, the Doctor Audio novel. I mean, I think, yeah, on the whole, this box set, we're fairly positive, aren't we?
Yeah,
Which is unsurprising.
yeah, I think it was a box set that made me go, yeah, this is the range now. It's I think this is the first set in the range where it was the most consistent, where both stories were hits. So I think up until that
Mm.
point in the range, you'd have one good story, then you'd have one story you're kind of lukewarm on. Whereas this, it was two really solid stories, and I think going forward, every box set's had the strong stories now. There's not been, a stinker as such.
Oh, I don't know, Volume 8.
I forget about that.
Skip over that one.
If we were to rate the stories individually,
I think a 7 for Rising New Humans and a 9 for Tyrants of Logic.
I'd go 8 and a 9 for me.
Ah. Hmm. Yeah, and I think go 9 for the box set overall.
Yeah, I can
Because
agree
I
with that.
feel like, even if Rise of the New Humans doesn't end up being a cup of tea, you still got Tyrants of Logic here, which I think makes it worth the price of admission alone,
It's the
really.
reason you're
Particularly if
picking
it's
this
on
set.
offer.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you see the set on offer, go for it for Tyrants alone.
Hmm.
Because, as we said, it's also the much more chunky of the two.
Yeah.
So, quantity wise as well as quality wise, it's got you covered.
Yeah, Rise of the Humans is just your little bonus.
Hmm. Yeah, so take it or leave it, but
Yeah.
Pirates of Logic
It's good.
is what pretty much everyone who's gonna get this set is getting it for,
Mm.
and yeah, I'd say
It delivers.
it's worthy of that. So, I mean, if you've picked up the set, let us know your thoughts on both the stories in the comments below. Let us know if you are a bigger fan of Rise of the New Humans
I'm
than
sure
you
that
are
there
of
are people.
Tyrants. There must be. Yeah. If you're one of those people, do let us know. Until next time, goodbye, everyone.
Bye bye.